5 men, surrounded, no way out. Then something moved above the ridge. The Pathfinder unit huddled low inside a jagged fold of Naraka Chasm 5 operators, pinned, surrounded from 3 directions. Hostiles closed in fast, sweeping in tight formations through the ravine's blind spots. No way out, no air support. The comms unit spat nothing but static. Every Allied post along the Ember line had gone dark without warning, and then a single rifle crack tore through the silence. 1 hostile dropped, then another, then 3 more in clean succession. Each impact sounded like punctuation, like someone, somewhere, had just declared, "You're not alone." Confusion exploded among the attackers. They ducked, scattered, losing formation as panic took root. Someone from the unit whispered, barely audible, "Is someone up there?" Commander Hale didn't take his eyes off the ridge through his scope, voice steady, almost reverent. "She's here." Her name was Rowan Vale, 31, American. Dark hair pulled tight beneath a snow hood. Petite. Quiet. Too easily overlooked until it was too late. To the rest of the Tier 4 command teams stationed at Dagger Line Outpost, Rowan was the soft-spoken tech analyst assigned to terrain forensics. She processed encrypted seismic data, mapped border breaches, tuned into weather shifts and enemy movement models. They called her Ghost Tech partly as a joke, partly because she always appeared when things started to go sideways, and then vanished before anyone could ask questions. Weeks earlier, after the team had limped back from a failed extraction op, Rowan had quietly slipped into the armory. The on-duty sergeant glanced up. "Unless you're logging laptops. Ghost. I doubt you need the XRS-11. She didn't reply, just gave a small smile and walked past him, reaching not for the rifle he mentioned, but for the XRS-11 long shot tucked behind the racks. No one noticed. She had already logged temporary clearance for high-angle Overwatch support, buried beneath logistical paperwork. Unnoticed, officially, she was assigned to mapping and non-combat system support, but to Rowan, those maps weren't just data, they were memory. She could feel terrain shifts before the models updated. She knew how light changed at specific angles during snowmelt. Each morning, she sat at the back of the briefing room, eyes narrowed, not scanning the maps, but listening to them. During lunch, she disappeared for exactly 22 minutes. No one followed. No one knew where she went. She wasn't eating. She was walking the perimeter, tracking sound bounce, wind rhythm, movement lines, places someone might need saving if the radios ever went dead. There was an old rifle in the armory, a reject. Scope drifted too easily and cold. Armorers called it useless in steep terrain. Rowan had passed that rifle 14 times, each time, noticing what others hadn't. The issue wasn't the weapon. It was the mounting geometry optimized for flat desert, not alpine warfare. 3 days before the ambush, Rowan recalibrated it in silence, rebuilt the 0 for Bluff 47, adjusting for the 42-degree angle and chaotic crosswinds, a firing solution that, on paper, wasn't even possible. When people asked what she did, Rowan always answered, "I work systems. I build data," which was true, just not the whole truth. Like describing a storm by calling it windy. The mission had been clear. Pathfinder unit was to sweep Naraka Chasm, locate an enemy comm relay, and mark it for drone strike. It sounded simple, but 5 minutes after boots hit the ravine floor, the entire op went sideways. Exit routes were cut. Flanking fire locked them down. The sky turned heavy with low clouds, no aerial visibility, and the radio nothing but static and dead air. Someone whispered, "Any high ground with sight lines, only Bluff 47. Another answered, "But it's listed as inaccessible, back at Dagger Line Outpost." Rowan Vale was monitoring everything through a 3D terrain sim, and she froze. She knew this setup too well. Same angles, same bottleneck, same radio silence. She didn't speak, didn't ask permission. She simply removed her headset, crossed the room, and unlocked the far weapons rack. Her hand moved past the standard loadout straight to the XRS-11 longshot, gathering dust in the back. Officially marked inconsistent at altitude. She didn't care. No request for clearance, no tactical briefing, just snow boots, gear harness, and a weapon no one else trusted. Bluff 47 was 1.9 kilometers away. Every step of the ascent was brutal, jagged switchbacks, thin air, terrain that didn't forgive missteps. Rowan didn't hesitate. She didn't pause at forks. She didn't slow for incline. She knew the rhythm of that climb like old scars. Every gust, every fault line, every blind spot. The wind rotated every 38 minutes. Granite outcroppings kicked up vertical heat drafts that could skew a shot by nearly a yard. The density of the snow warped sound patterns in ways even satellite audio couldn't account for. At minute 17 of her ascent, gunfire erupted in Naraka below. The team was pinned hard. Machine gunners had them flattened to the stone. Flanking squads closed in tight. And then a shot, a single, perfect crack from the ridge flagged as unreachable. The lead gunner on the enemy side crumpled clean through the head. A 780-meter shot, in shifting winds, off unstable footing. Impossible. Most would say. The second shot dropped a squad leader. The third, a radio operator. Each round hit not with panic, but surgical precision. Whoever was up there wasn't firing blind. They were dismantling the enemy formation from the top down. In the command center, radar verified it. The shots came from Bluff 47, unknown shooter. Someone muttered. Same grouping we saw during the Falcon line hit last year, but no confirmed ID. Command channels lit up, unidentified marksman confirm position. No reply. On the ground, the enemy began unraveling, with their key assets eliminated. They panicked and retreated. They had prepared for a Tier 4 Special Forces team. What they hadn't planned for was a ghost sniper firing from a ridge they thought no human could reach. Base, confirm friendly sniper support, Commander Hale demanded through the radio. The reply came cold. Negative. No marksmen deployed in your AO. Repeat, 0 friendly snipers assigned to Naraka. Hale blinked. Then who the hell's up there? The ambush collapsed. Extraction became clean, but the real mystery remained. Bluff 47 still held its silence. No flash, no glint, no movement, just the faint echo of a rifle that should have stayed broken. Rowan Vale returned to her desk exactly 18 minutes after she'd slipped away. Her field jacket carried alpine dust and fine frost. Her boots left barely visible tracks, half-melted snow on steel flooring. Her terminal showed uninterrupted terrain diagnostics. When asked about the comms static earlier, she answered calmly. Localized interference. Nothing outside protocol. But her eyes, they told the part the logs didn't. Sharper now, no longer hidden behind analysis reports. They held the clarity of someone who had remembered who she used to be. The XRS-11 sat quietly in its rack again, spotless, restored. The once faulty scope now aligned with mathematical precision. The mission log showed 3 fewer rounds than issued. No anomaly alerts, no audit flags. Commander Hale reviewed it twice, then filed it under restricted access. The official report, mission success. Hostile formation dismantled. Extraction secured. No mention of sniper support. No entry for Bluff 47. No name attached to the miracle. That evening, as the Pathfinder team returned, Reynolds stopped beside her station. He didn't speak right away, didn't salute. Just let the silence settle. Then softly, "Thank you." She looked up. For what? A pause. "You know." She turned back to the keyboard. "I was monitoring terrain acoustics, echo points and wind vectors." The next morning, a recon drone reached Bluff 47. No thermal signatures, no footprints. But what they did find: 4 spent casings, a windscreen torn to threads, and 1 unfired round placed on a stone slab, etched with a number 418. That number triggered a restricted cross-reference Specter Unit. Codename Wraith 418. Status unknown. Commander Hale summoned her quietly. She didn't come in her assigned gear. She wore a faded jacket, older issue, lightly dusted with residue. No rank, no markings, just history stitched into fabric. "How'd you know that ridge could be reached?" he asked. She didn't flinch. "Because I lived under those rocks once, when my unit didn't come back." She had never filed for medals, never corrected the record. She was the last remnant of a recon unit that vanished during the Ember Sweep. Officially listed MIA, unofficially forgotten. Until now. No one pressed her further, because those who knew what it took to survive alone on a dead ridge, they also knew why some ghosts don't speak. Specter Unit wasn't built to be seen. 6 operators, hand-picked, trained for deep mountain infiltration where no rescue team could reach in time. Their task: establish high-altitude posts across the Ember Line, map enemy routes, relay without being found. They moved like mist, until they didn't. 3 weeks in all, contact went dark. Satellites showed nothing. No thermals, no movement. The mountains swallowed them. Recovery teams found fractured gear, empty ration kits, no remains. After 60 days. The file closed. KIA. Remains unrecovered. Official verdict: overrun by superior enemy forces. No survivors. But that wasn't the truth. The truth was colder. The sector had been flagged safe. It wasn't. Intel had been poisoned, leaked by someone upstream. Spectre didn't walk into a hot zone. They were sent there, and once they realized the trap, they didn't retreat. Because below the ridge, a convoy of 186 civilians was moving through a narrow pass. Enemy artillery began to shift. The unit split into 3. 5 stayed to hold positions. Buy time, buy life. 1 remained above them all, watching. Rowan Vale, call sign Wraith 418, was posted on the highest ridge. Her orders: observe, document, maintain silence for 3 days. She held. She watched her team fall, heard the gunfire roll upward in the wind. She didn't move, didn't call. Their radios were compromised. If she broke silence, she'd expose herself, and the convoy would die with her. On the 3rd day, she saw the shift. Enemy forward observers setting up, artillery being triangulated. She didn't ask for permission. She just moved. 3 shots, each surgical, each target the eyes of the enemy, now blind. The artillery lost aim. The convoy made it through. But so did her muzzle flash, and the ridge lit up. What followed wasn't a battle. It was survival. 6 days. No heat, no food. Hunted by a full battalion. She moved only during storm fronts, slept in rock shadows, sustained herself on snow and silence. When the rescue team finally found her, she was still there, in position, rifle braced, watching the same valley where her unit had disappeared. The medics noted frostbite on 3 fingers, severe dehydration, combat trauma consistent with prolonged isolation. Her statement: just 1 line: I held position. They offered medals. She declined. They offered promotions. She declined. She asked for reassignment, support, comms, logistics, anything far from a rifle's recoil. And for 3 years, she disappeared into the back channels, a ghost, by choice. But some things don't fade. She could still read terrain like a confession, still feel the difference between stillness and a breath before the shot, still move through danger like she wasn't there at all. Her file read: displays classic survivor's guilt, tactical proficiency exceptional. Recommend non-combat placement, combat capacity untested. They were wrong about the last part, because when Naraka mirrored everything she'd buried, when the ambush repeated, when the silence returned, she didn't freeze. She remembered, and she moved. 3 shots bought silence. 1 vow brought her back. It wasn't vengeance. It wasn't rage. It was something quieter, stronger. The decision that she would never again stand by while others died, not when she had the power to intervene. The XRS-11 she chose wasn't random. It was the same model she carried as Wraith 418 back when Specter Unit was still alive, and the scope she adjusted. Not routine, it was instinct. The kind that isn't taught, only survived. She left one final round at Bluff 47, resting on a stone, etched with just one number, 418. It wasn't a message. It was a vow. To her fallen unit, to the team she had just saved, to the version of herself that never gave up. Inside Commander Hale's office, she stood still, not as a ghost this time, but as something fully returned. "You tried to disappear," he said, eyes scanning the file. "Designation 418 shows up in 17 restricted ops, unconfirmed ID, improbable timing, near impossible accuracy. I requested to remain unlisted." Rowan said simply, "But you were there." She looked up. "I never left. Always watching. Always waiting. Just in case someone else ever needed what she still carried." Hale looked down at the evidence sniper overlays. Satellite shadows, mission reports, the Falcon Line extraction, the Desert Rose convoy, the South Ridge escape. All her. Rowan gave a single nod. "No medals, no post. Some of us aren't meant to be visible. We show up when needed. That's enough." Outside, the Pathfinder team waited for her. Not from protocol, but out of quiet understanding. Reynolds stepped forward. "If you ever teach a course, I want to be your first student." She gave him something rare, a real smile. "The best lessons," she said, "don't come from classrooms." A week later, a quiet corner of Daggerline was renamed Bluff Point. No statues, no photo displays, just a small plaque. "If you're surrounded, look up quietly." Rowan accepted a post. Instructor, static precision. No rifles allowed, only teachings, on wind, on terrain, on silence. She taught no classes, but they all learned.